You bring him up from Adelaide.
And welcome to week 2 of my adventures in Australia. I don't know if this is going to be a weekly vlog or a couple of times a month, but for now I'm filming it as if it's weekly. But we shall see how it goes, because there are some weeks where there's not going to be as much going on to talk about, and then there'll be weeks where there's a lot. This week there's quite a lot. So it is currently Wednesday. I have the house to myself for the majority of today. Ren's niece has back-to-back appointments today with dentist, paediatrician and something else. I'm not quite sure what the final one was. So they've gone out and so I thought I'd catch up on some filming, let you guys know what I've been up to and what's going on for the rest of this week. Monday was just a kind of chill day. We didn't really do very much. I don't think we did very much. I can't really remember. I'm pretty sure we didn't really do anything on Monday, because obviously Sunday we were out Words Festival, and then Monday we just kind of chilled at home, read some books, and Ren had like one appointment they had to go to with their dad, and then that was it. Then yesterday, which was Tuesday, we had a magical day. We went to a local cat cafe with the intention of adopting, because Ren fell in love with Ginty, my cat, while they were staying with me last year. And one of the things they said, they were like, oh yeah, when you're here we're getting a cat, and I was like, eee! So yesterday we went to a cat cafe and there was one older cat called Sylvester that we both absolutely fell in love with. He was such a cuddle monster. Unfortunately, any time another cat went anywhere near him, he just lost his shit. And we were like, yeah, he probably would not appreciate coming into a house with a dog. So after a bit of discussion, Ren was kind of like meh by the kittens. Just like none of them were really standing out, but there was one that really stood out for me. When we first arrived, I noticed that she kind of seemed to be being ignored a little bit. She was over in the play area, but people were playing more with like the more playful and rough and tumble kittens than her. And I saw her a few times like rub herself against people, but they were just kind of like not really noticing because they were busy playing with the other kittens. And I don't know why, there was just something about her. I was like, okay, when I go in there, I want to meet her. And by the time I went in there, she had laid down for a sleep. And first of all, she was absolutely gorgeous in her sleep. And then when I like had a look at her little name tag, her name was Mochi. And I was like, oh. And I, doing that with the tag, woke her up a little bit and she gave me like the cutest little meow. And then about 20 minutes later, she did come out from her nap and the first thing she did is ran straight over to me with a little meow. And I was like, even though by this point I'd kind of attached to a couple of other kittens, she just kept coming to me. And then she went for another little sleep. And again, I'm big on giving cats and animals nicknames. And it's like, once I've nicknamed an animal, generally that is my animal. So like, you know, Chopper, I've always called Chop Chop. Ginty is Jints and Ginster. Gabriel was my little Bubba. Molly was Molly Moo. Drac was like Dracky. Every pet I've ever had ends up with a nickname. And these other kittens, there was a Daisy and a Matthew. Neither of them I was really thinking of anything. And then as I was stroking Mochi, I was like, hey Mochi, you're so gorgeous, little Mochi Moo. And then I was like, oh, that's dangerous, I've just nicknamed her. And then like a couple of minutes later I was stroking her again and I was like, you gorgeous little Momo. And I was like, okay, I think the cat, she selected me by being so freaking cute. But she did also, like, we had a couple of little moments where she just kept like headbutting my hand and stuff and it was the cutest thing ever. So we have put in an application for her. This is her. She's just got a really sweet, loving little face. So we have put in an application to adopt her and we should hear back this week. And if it all goes through okay, we will be bringing her home this weekend. I'm so excited for, like, we're hoping that because she is so little, she'll adjust to Chopper really quickly. Chopper's never really been around cats, but he's so docile and so like gentle and loving. I don't see there being a problem. Hopefully we should hear back and hopefully that'll be a yes. I know Ren's a little bit nervous because they've never owned a cat before and with her being a kitten, but I deliberately also chose her because she was very calm and quiet compared to the others. And the people that worked at the cafe said that she was one of the more sort of calm, gentle ones. She should be fine and Ren should be fine with her, but we shall see. It doesn't work out, but I remain hopeful. I remain very hopeful. So that was super exciting and it was so lovely, but it also meant we got to go back into the city again, where we just ended up we went to a couple of comic stores and having a look around there. I was very good. I did pick up something. I've just realised there is a book that I bought, but it technically isn't for me. But I did buy it with the intention of me reading it, and I will show you soon. Okay, Ren and the niece came back for lunch at that moment, so I wasn't able to finish. But the book that I bought, it's one that Ren was wanting to read. They knew that I'd read the first one and loved it and gave it 5 stars. So they wanted to read it because they thought it was going to be cute and wholesome. So I saw there was an omnibus and it's the first 3 volumes in one, and that is A Sign of Affection by Sue Morishita. I got this for Ren with the intention of me reading it. I think that was all I bought yesterday. Because, yeah, we went for food, cat cafe, 2 bookstores, And then we went home. Ironically though, we did go into town to go to an art gallery exhibition and we forgot. I logged onto my computer this morning and I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing we were meant to do. We then did a library trip because obviously books. And also Ren told me about their library system and how extensive the manga and graphic novels are. And holy crap, like the graphic novels and manga in particular just were incredible. I'm not even kidding. The amount of graphic novels and manga that we took out equate to probably the total number that are in the entirety of my library back home. And I'm not exaggerating. So we basically raided the graphic novels shelf, and a bunch of these you'll see in more detail in my November reading wrap up that will be in December. I will very quickly just show you what I picked up. So these ones are all ones I've already finished. So Ghost Roast by Shawnell Gibbs and Shawnee Gibbs. Frankie Comics by Rachel Dukes. Monster Crush by Ellie Erin Franey. The Girl from the Sea by Molly Knox Ostertag. I got Let's Play Volume 1, but that is over on the sofa with Ren. Then Ren also put reserves for me for when I arrived. So I've got the Tea Dragon Society, the Tea Dragon Tapestry, and the Tea Dragon Festival. In Limbo, I think this is one that Ren picked up, but In Limbo by Deb JJ Lee. The Estrella Roja by I can't read it, Ashley Robin Franklin. Self-Made Volume 1, I don't know everyone's names, but it just says Groom, Ferrigato, Costa and Pateri. Crumbs by Dane Sterling, which has been on my TBR for forever. My Love in Stitches by Emily Gossman. The Unkindness of Ravens by Dan Panosian, Mariana Ignazi and Fabian Muscalo. The Well by Jake Wyatt Chu. And finally, The Sad Ghost Club by Liz Meddings. And then Ren, I did pick up one for Ren today. That was another pre-order, reserve, which is just a little graphic novel, a little kids book. The Little Ghost Who Was a Quilt, but I absolutely love the artwork in here and the detail. I think it's so pretty. That's how I want my artwork to eventually look. And then on a Wednesday, Ren's mum goes to a craft session at that library. So it's just kind of a group of ladies come together, they sit, they do some crafty bits, they chat, they gossip, all of that jazz. And so while I was there today, I was working on a painting that I bought Ren for Christmas. It's a paint by numbers. I've never done one before. I'm not sure if I really like it, but it's been nice to do while I was there. So I started that, and then there was a big patch that needed to dry. So I took a wander around the library and looked at the actual books this time. And as always, I told myself I was only going to pick up books that I was really excited for and I knew I wouldn't easily be able to get back home. Because the other thing is here, you can reserve books for free. And you can take out 100 books. Back home, we're allowed 10 and every reservation is 50p. So even if I wanted to borrow a book from a library nearby, I have to pay for it. And I kind of don't like that on principle. So yeah, it was amazing that I got to pick these up. But yeah, I have actual books as well as all of those graphic novels. So I picked up The Foxwife by Yangzi Chu, which I think is now actually on one of the Goodreads categories. So I think that one might be good to read so I can vote for it. Complete cover cover pick, I will say, is this one. The Undying of Obedience Well Rest by Nicholas Bowling. I've never even heard of this one, but I purely saw the cover, and then I got as far as To the Horror of Young Gravedigger Ned, Body Snatchers have been visiting his churchyard in the dead of night. Yeah, I had to pick that up. A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed in a cover I have not seen and I think is absolutely gorgeous. This Wicked Fate by Kaylin Bayron, because I read the first one earlier this year and really enjoyed it, and I have been trying to keep an eye out for this. So the fact that I could get it from the library, I can try and read it and finish that duology this year. That would be fantastic. Another one that was purely a cover pick, but I know I've seen it a lot and people have talked about it, is Blood Like Magic by Lizelle Sambury. I know this one has had a lot of really good ratings and a lot of people have enjoyed it, so I grabbed that. And then finally we have Bonesmith by Nikki Powell Prato, which was on my radar all of last year and was on my most anticipated releases, but I still have not had a copy of it or picked it up. So yeah, I picked it up in the library. Will I get to all of these before they're due back? We shall see. Probably not, but I am gonna sort of put them in a priority order of how soon I want to get to them. So yeah, we shall see how this all goes. That is what I've been up to so far this week. And then for the rest of the week, tomorrow I am off on a solo adventure into the city where I will be meeting Max, who is Ren's best friend, who has also become a really good friend of mine. He's invited me to go to the Adelaide 500, which is kind of like a street circuit racing event that happens in Adelaide every year. And it's just kind of like street racing with different types of cars, and the big main races are on Saturday and Sunday, I believe, or Friday, Saturday. But the temperature is due to go up to like 34, 35 degrees on those days, and I'm like, and secondly, the cost was triple what we would pay just to go on the Thursday. So we've decided we'll go on the Thursday because it'll be slightly cooler and the cost will be a lot cheaper, and we can just sort of see the qualifiers and the practice races. So we're going to that. Ren is not going because, in their own words, like, do I want to go to that and watch cars? Because they have no interest whatsoever in cars and racing. So like I said, I'll do my own little solo trip. I'm meeting up with Max and we'll be hanging out and doing that. Friday is a day off. Saturday, if all goes to plan, we will be picking up cat stuff and then picking the kitten up. And then Sunday we've been invited to a barbecue at Ren's brother's house so I can meet him and his wife. I've already met their son Luther. We had a little, every Friday he comes over for a play day. And so obviously I met him last Friday and he kind of took to me really quickly, which Ren was surprised about because apparently he doesn't usually take too well to new people, but he just sort of seemed to like me quite quickly. So yeah, it's been a good week so far and it's still got a long way to go, but I've been having a great time and it's been fun to go out and see the city, and I'm really excited to meet Max, and I really hope that everything goes well with the adoption with the kitten so we can bring her home. But that's where I'm at so far, so I'm gonna go and then enjoy the next batch of clips and things for what I've been getting up to, and you'll hopefully get an update either Saturday or Sunday wrapping up the week. So yeah, enjoy the next few days of activities and content, and I'll catch up with you soon. Hi! So, it's been a couple of weeks since the last vlog update because honestly, I thought last week, like this week and last week were going to be a lot busier than they have ended up being. So I've not really done as much filming. Even though we've been busy, it's been more sort of things like going to appointments and going to the shops and things like that. So I've not really had tons and tons of actual like going into the city or around the city to do. But I have now got, Ren has been collecting all of these leaflets of things, and we've started writing down markets and things that we want to go to and check out. So definitely in the next sort of 2 to 3 weeks, so sort of the December vlogs is probably where things are really going to start picking up, because you know we've got more events and stuff going on and we want to go out and start doing more explory stuff. It's just very difficult because if I take this week for example, we're in Wednesday now, and every day so far this week Ren's had to go out and do stuff. It's quite difficult to plan sort of, you know, going to nature reserves and things, because those would typically be an all-day activity or like an entire afternoon. So it's been easier just to do little trips, like let's just go into the shopping centre and do some shopping, than it is to go out and do something. But yeah, I've said though that from next week I do really want to start exploring a little bit more and getting to see more of the city, because even when I've been in the city so far, I've done the Indy 500, I've done the work, like some of the stuff, but I've not really done a lot of things like, you know, museums and art galleries and things like that. It's again been more based on like specific events or just sort of going up and down Rundle Mall and just seeing some of the shops there. So it's kind of been a little bit more relaxed and chill. So yeah, as I said, want to do a bit more of a focus in the next vlog and sort of do more actual activities. But the rest of this week is going to be a little bit more busy again. We do have a few things going on. We are picking up our little kitten on Saturday, little Mochi. I haven't announced it on Instagram. I did a vague post and I was like, oh, I've got an exciting announcement next week. And then I was like, wait, people are going to think that I've got something else that I'm announcing. And I was like, no, we're not ready for that yet. That's a future thing. So I was like, oh God, what if people think that that's happening? It's like, not yet. But the announcement is going to be, because obviously you will see this after we've picked her up. And so that is going to be picking up little Mochi and helping her settle in and get her used to being around Chopper and in a new house. Then Sunday, we're off to my sister's because my aunt gets married and she's having a little wedding party there, so we're going there for a little bit. That's kind of what I've been up to. Not loads to update on. Oh, I forgot to say, look, I bought, Mochi has got her little collars. I'm not sure yet which one she's gonna wear. So what we're gonna do is when she gets here, once she's a little bit calm and everything, she can choose which one. We'll put a treat on each. And then that's led to Ren suggesting that I do a vlog where it's like books and I just sort of do the pet pics, like our kitten, like new kitten pics, my books for a week or something. And then it's also got like this little smiley kitty on it. I don't know if you can see that very clearly. Yeah, you got a little smiley kitty and it's also got these little charms. She's just gonna look so freaking cute. And I bought her a little harness because I want to try and harness train her so she can go outside and have little walkies. But yeah, I'm not the only one that's excited. The niece is absolutely, like, she was kind of doing a little bouncy bounce yesterday because she was like, kitty, kitty, kitty. So she's also extremely excited. That's about it. Anyway, I'm going to go because I don't want to talk for too super long, but hopefully there's going to be some more clips coming up and a few more highlights for the week, and then I'll do probably one more chatty bit. We'll see what happens because I might leave it another week before I put stuff in if I don't feel there's enough so far for this one. But we shall see how we go, and hopefully I'll be back soon with another update if I survive this weekend, because while back home they've had a ton of snow, we are due to have a weekend up in the high 30s, so I'm kind of gonna die.
supposed to come today. I specifically picked today, Tuesday, for delivery. I even came a little bit extra.
Hello.
I didn't get an email or anything, but I went on tracking to see the progress.
So that was his.
Oof. You ready? Fetch. Oh my god, you play fetch. Kind of. Almost. There you go. So clever. Hi. So, been a slight bump in the joy of being in Australia. We adopted a little kitten, little Mochi, and we were like really confident that we would be able to get her and Chopper together and they would be fine. And we kept them separate for a couple of days, and then we started to gradually introduce them again, and it's now at the point where she is no longer hissing when he's near, but we're still having a bit of trouble where he's wanting to play and properly meet her, and that's led to him kind of nipping at her, and obviously he is far bigger than her and we don't want him biting her. Unfortunately, all of that and the stress of that and the constant, you know, having to keep them separate and work out who gets the living room when, and just the overwhelming on top of that of having a new kitten who is very, you know, explorative, who's very, doesn't know where she can't go yet, doesn't know where she can, and isn't very good at understanding no. And then whenever we shut her in the bathroom, because that is kind of like her bedroom at the moment, and when we put her in there, she immediately starts freaking out and is meowing and crying. She is very good at settling again. She, I will say, after about 15 minutes or so, she will settle. But as soon as she hears anyone moving around or talking, she'll start crying again to get out. I will say, trigger warning from this point on, about anxiety, panic, and talking about some of the things that happen during anxiety and panic attacks, so if you would rather not do that, yeah, somewhere on the screen here it will tell you where to skip to once I've edited it, and you can skip to there if you don't want to hear about anxiety and panic attacks and things, which is completely fair. But I just, as you know, I talk about everything on my channel. I talk about my reading, but I also talk about health. Unfortunately, it led to Saturday night, after we brought her home, after all of that happened with like Chopper and then settling her in, I had a massive, I thought at first I was coming down with something, but all of a sudden out of nowhere I was like, I'm gonna be sick. So the night after we brought her home, obviously we had a little run in with her and Chopper. That didn't really do great for me. I'd also gotten quite excited looking forward to getting her, which always means I'm gonna have a bit of a reaction. That night, I suddenly, just out of nowhere, was like, I'm gonna be sick. And then accompanying that came really bad shaking that I could not control. And I also had, both ends, shall we say, were activated. I, at the time, didn't register that what it was. I was like, oh great, I've just got come down with something, because last week, some family members of friends were ill and had like a stomach bug, so I was like, maybe it was a delayed reaction to that, and I've picked it up. I was like, it's fine, I know what I'm like, I'll have a couple of bouts of being sick and then I'll be fine. The next morning I woke up and I felt even worse, and I was like, this isn't good, especially as we were due to go to my sister's, because it was my aunt's wedding party that was there on the Sunday, and I unfortunately, all through that night, I'd just been having these shakes and this sickness. And so I messaged my sister at like 8 in the morning and I was like, hey, just letting you know that this has been happening. She said, it's probably best if you don't come, because, and it wasn't just me either, the night before the niece had also been not feeling well, so that's why I thought maybe we'd both come down with a bug. And then she wasn't feeling great for a day. I'm still not good. But unfortunately, I've realised it was an anxiety attack, and still is, because even as I'm talking to you, I have got the pain in my stomach and in my back that tells me I'm still super tense and that I'm still struggling with nausea. And I'm having to take anti-sickness pills throughout the day in order to be able to keep any food down. And anytime I stop to think about anything, I just start shaking immediately and want to throw up again. So I definitely know this is anxiety, and I definitely know this is something that I'm going to have a bit of trouble with. It did get really severe this morning. I turned around to Ren and I was like, I was ready to get on a flight and go home this morning because I was just so stressed out about it all. And I was like, maybe we've made a mistake, maybe she should go back, because it's clearly not really fair on Chopper. It's not fair on her that we have to keep locking her away. It's not fair on me because my body is completely falling apart. I'm on day 3 now, and if I was at home, I would now be considering going to the doctors or the hospital to get help for it. But because I'm abroad and that's going to be quite costly, I'm trying to just deal with it how I can. So yeah, this morning wasn't great. I was genuinely ready to pack up and go home and be like, I can't stay here. And it was the first time that I've properly felt homesick, and I just wanted my bed and I wanted my cat and I wanted to just go home. But I obviously took that through with Ren. But we did have a bit of a chat this morning about whether or not it would be better all round for the pets and the humans, and say, right, okay, well, clearly while Chopper is still here, we'll return Mochi. We can say to them now that, she will be okay with dogs because she is doing much better with him. And we can say, we can imagine we fostered her and we helped her acclimatise to having a dog in the house, and we've helped her acclimatise to sort of not having her siblings around all the time, that kind of thing. We did discuss whether it would be the best thing to take her back and do that and talk about that, and then just waiting until Chopper is no longer here before getting a cat. But Ren is also still quite optimistic. And I've said, I think what we need to do is the next couple of days when we are going to do introduction things with them, I need to be out of the room because maybe they're picking up on my stress and my anxiety, and maybe that's making it worse. So Ren did another little intro today, and apparently Chopper did sort of go for another nibble, but they were saying that he's not sort of being malicious about it. It's more of a, hi new friend, I want to play with you. And it's unfortunately, that is just as bad as being aggressive, because that's still, he's so much bigger than her. She is so tiny. And yeah, it also doesn't help my period hit yesterday, which always exacerbates any emotions or any sickness I'm feeling. Periods just make it feel 1,000 times worse. And today's been another hot day. And so I'm anxious about that because I get hot and that makes me feel sick. And then we're also going out today. This evening, well, we should be. I want to. I don't want my body to just stop me from doing everything I wanted to do. So yeah, lots of anxiety, lots of stress. My body is not coping very well right now. I also had a touch of heat stroke. So basically over the weekend, just between heat stroke, anxiety, and God knows what else, I've just basically spent the whole weekend and Monday just, sleeping, lying down, trying to keep my fluids up, eating what I can where I can, and I've just been in a really messy state, and I've hated it because it's the first time that Ren has seen that in person. They've heard me talk about it, they know I get these attacks, they've never actually seen it, and I think it's kind of freaked them out a little bit. I thought if anyone was going to be too overwhelmed by the cat, it would be Ren, and it hasn't been. It's been me. I've just not been coping at all with everything. I absolutely love her to bits. She is gorgeous and I love her cuddles, but she has this thing where she'll climb up and she'll headbutt you in the face. And unfortunately the first couple of days I was fine with that, but then when the anxiety started to get bad, she would do it and it was starting to get almost claustrophobic, and I was at one point she put her paw in my throat and I was like, I will throw up on you, please stop. So yeah, it's been an adventure. Tomorrow onwards and the rest of this week, we've not got anything now from tomorrow until we leave for Kangaroo Island next week. So basically my plan is to just knuckle down and get as much work done as possible over those few days and try and get a head start on myself, but we shall see. No, the little baby's asleep in the dog bed. It's not the update I would have wanted. And hopefully though, when I do another update, it will be to say that everything's sorted out and everything's great again. Or it could be that we've had to take Mochi back. We shall see how that goes. I need to get some work done and hopefully get some more reading done and try and eat more before we go out. So I'm going to go do all that and I'll catch you guys on the next update. Look at this sweet baby. Look. Butter wouldn't melt. This is the last update for this vlog because I need to get it out, and also emotionally I'm not in a great place. So yesterday in the clip I recorded, I was saying that Mochi might have to be returned back to the adoption centre, and we wanted to see how she and Chopper got on yesterday. It was pretty much the same, but we noticed there was an increase in her stress when we put her back in the bathroom, because it has been tough on Chopper where he's been sleeping in another house. He keeps being forced out of the living room to sleep in the bedroom so she can have the living room. And then when he wants the living room, we've got to put her in the bathroom because that's where like her litter tray and her bed currently are. And she was okay the first few days, but we've noticed more and more and more she's getting stressed. And she seems okay right this second, but I think it's because she was just asleep on me. So I lay her in her crate while she was, like, her little carry case, because I didn't want her to be afraid of it. So she's been using that as a bed. Hello. Hi. Like, she was okay the first few days, and then yesterday she just went absolutely crazy when we put her in there. And the last 3 times she's been put in there, she has completely freaked out. She started to like smash herself against the door and like put her paws under the gap under the door, and I'm worried that she's gonna like pull one of her claws off or do some serious damage to herself. This little guy right here, very cute, but he is just not really coping either. He keeps getting very like panty, and not just because he's hot, but it's like a stressed. He keeps showing whale eyes, which is where they show the whites of their eyes. He's in a constant state of anxiety as well. You going back to your bed? Okay. I did manage to go out yesterday, but as soon as it got to the point where it was like the halfway point, and it was like, okay, I did have to take some anti-sickness then because I was starting to feel a bit more sick again. And then when it was like time to go home, the anxiety and panic immediately flared up. And then on the drive home, we had a talk about it, and I can't remember exactly what I said, but I just went, I think I've decided, haven't I? And Rome said, I think we have. And it just basically, we both agreed that the right thing for both the pets would be to take Mochi back. And as you can see, it's not an easy decision. And there are going to be people out there who are like, oh, you didn't give it enough time, you've not been good enough to it, you've not been patient. But the fact is, we've been doing very gentle introductions, and he's just getting more and more and more stressed. They're both just getting more and more stressed out because obviously they don't know why they're being put into rooms, and they don't know why they're just like him. His day has just been constantly disrupted. He's not slept in the house for the last few days, partly because of where I had the anxiety attack. I'm mostly out of it now, but there are still remnants there. Didn't work, especially this morning when there were a whole flock of cockatoos out in one of the trees, and the way that they scream, at one point it sounded like Mochi, and I flew out of bed at like 6 in the morning going, oh my god, is she okay? Thinking she'd hurt herself. Realised it was the birds, couldn't get back to sleep, sparked another anxiety attack because today was the day that I called the adoption agency and sort of tried to get the ball rolling. We've explained everything to them. We've said that we would ideally like her to go back this week, like during the week if possible. If we could have had it done today, we would have. Just not because we want her gone, but just it will be so much quicker and easier. Like a band-aid, just get it done. We've made that decision. I fell asleep crying last night. I woke up and started crying this morning, and I've just been cuddling her all day. Like while I was editing, she fell asleep cuddled up in my arms, and I was just crying because like we love her so much, but at the end of the day, this is also Chopper's house. He was here first, and if he is showing distress and that he does not want this, we're not going to force him. And it's not fair on her to keep shutting her away, and it's just not going to be viable. And as the niece pointed out as well, she was like, she didn't say this, but we've noticed she was struggling because where her bed is literally on the floor in the living room, whenever Mochi was out, she got no respite from it. And Mochi was literally just like constantly jumping and climbing over her laptop. And you could see that at times she was loving it and loving the cuddles. but she was also getting very overstimulated, and obviously we had to take that into consideration as well. Last night when we got home after we'd made that decision, I went straight to the bathroom, cuddled the baby, and I just sort of said to her, you know, if you find a family that love you even 10% of how much we already love you, you're going to be fantastic. And she's going to be fantastic anyway, because she's just such an amazing cat. She loves cuddles. She understands basic instincts. She plays fetch. I've never known a cat to do that. You know, she's an absolute joy. And she, even though she was only here for like not even a week, she has just brought so much sunshine and joy. But unfortunately, she's just brought so much stress, and people have reacted in ways we didn't expect. So we expected that I was going to be the cool, calm one that kind of did a lot of the integration stuff and was going to be the one that set everything up. We thought that Chopper was going to be absolutely fine and chill. We thought Ren was probably going to be a bit of a stressed noodle for a little while. And in the end, what happened is Chopper freaked out. I then freaked out, and Ren has been the calm, stable one this whole time. But, you know, we were both really upset when we were talking about it yesterday, and I had a cry in the car on the way home. Ren managed to get me to laugh by just Wave by ATEEZ came on, and one of the lyrics in it is it goes like, Hakuna Matata yo, and Ren just like very loudly just blared that, and I just burst out into laughter as well as crying. So yeah, it is a very, very difficult decision. It's not one we wanted to make. It's not one we thought we were gonna have to make, and it's just at the moment we can't give her the environment she needs. We thought we could. We genuinely expected to be fine. They were only sort of slightly having a problem. We wouldn't have even considered taking her back. We would have fought through. But the fact is, it's not fair on Mochi to be locked away in the bathroom, crying and hurting herself to get out half the day. It's not fair on Chopper to be banned from going to certain places, and to all of a sudden he's got these people telling him off every time he does something, and it's just not fair on anyone. And I just feel she should go to a better environment where people can like accommodate. It's not Chopper's fault, it's not her fault, it's nobody's fault. It's just things didn't work how we were expecting them to, and how they would have worked maybe if he was a bit younger, we don't know. But there is just that fear for her safety still of if he is biting her, like even if it's in play, he is a Staffordshire Bull Terrier and she is a 12-week-old kitten. That's just not going to end well, no matter how we try to sugarcoat it. So yeah, we've thought of her safety, we've thought of his peace, and we've thought of our own sanity, and we have realised that she is the right pet. I said it this morning and we all kind of agreed. She's the right pet, but it's the wrong time. We are in touch with the rescue centre. We're just waiting to hear back now. And then Chopper will just be an only child. And then they've said it'll be when Chopper is no longer with us, that's when they will reconsider and get a cat then instead, where the focus is purely on the cat. So yeah, it's not how we wanted it. But anyway, to talk about last night and to finish this vlog on a happier note, we went to see Professor Alice Roberts do a talk at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre, and she was talking about From Cells to Civilization. I had to go just then because the cat sanctuary, the foster play, the adoption centre just called me to, yeah. So we went to see Professor Alice Roberts. If you know me, I have an ecology background. I studied ecology and conservation at university, but I also had a very big interest in archaeology growing up. I used to love watching Time Team, and apparently like 70% of the people on Ren's course said that they wanted to do archaeology because of that show. Same. But my whole life I've always been interested in history and historical things and archaeology. So I also really enjoyed when I was at uni. I used to also go to like guest lectures and things, and I did consider moving from my masters. I thought about going from ecology into archaeology and do like eco-archaeology and go down that route. So Professor Alice Roberts is a huge name in the world of archaeology. She started off as like a doctor, she then went into various different things and then eventually became sort of like an archaeologist, paleontologist and all of this. So she did this amazing talk and she had like props on stage to show us, and the first half was mostly focused on the biological, like evolution and things like that, which was mostly stuff I already knew because of my biology degree where I studied genetics, I studied evolution, I studied geology and paleontology to a small extent. So all of that area was really kind of almost a refresher. There was some new evidence that's come up since I left study that I thought was incredible, but mostly it was just a refresher. But then the second half after the break was looking at how once we had evolved, how we then became civilized and how civilization came to be and the movement of people across the world and things like that. And it was that was where it was more like anthropological and more on the archaeology side, which was more new to me. And it was really funny because for Ren it was the other way around. A lot of the stuff at the early part was new to them, and then the archaeology side, because that's what they studied, was quite familiar. But both of us came away learning different things and it was fantastic. One of the biggest things that blew my mind was when we were looking at the evolution of a fetus, and she was saying about how humans, you wouldn't necessarily think that humans and fish are alike, but we are actually on the same branch of the tree of life. We are descended from these particular fish. And then she showed us an embryo, a 4-week-old embryo of this fish. And she was like, look at it, look at the shape of it. It's got like a little tail. It's got like these structures here in its throat that are going to become gills. And then she was like, and then this is a 4-week-old human fetus. And it looked almost identical. And she was like, you can see it's got those exact same shapes, which eventually will become, where for fish it becomes gills and stuff, for us it becomes our larynx and allows us to speak and becomes our windpipe and our food tube. And then like she was like, and then our tails the tail on the fish will become a tail, ours will not, hopefully. And then she was like showing us that how, yeah, we are evolved in totally different ways, but when you look at the embryos and how it first begins, it's identical. So yeah, I did say to Ren it was quite ironic where, you know, I've come all the way from England to go and see a professor talk when the school that the university they teach at is literally 20 minutes down the road to me back home. So I did find that quite amusing. But yeah, it was a fantastic talk. I loved the use of PowerPoint and stuff that she had that had like all the different things. She had like these 3D rocks, and when she was talking about certain paintings and fossils, they were being projected onto the rock. And it just looked so good, and she looked fantastic. I've always really admired her. I wanted to be her when I grew up. When I was like 15, 16, saw her doing I think the first thing I ever saw her in when I was about 15, she was doing a documentary about castles and stuff like that. And then I remember seeing her on Time Team a few times, and then I saw her just basically, there was a period in the UK where it seemed like every time I turned the TV on there was a Professor Alice Roberts documentary on, and I was just always watching them. If I saw something had her attached to it, I would watch it. But yeah, she was just like really witty, really funny. The only downside to the whole night was in the second half there was this weird squeaking noise from the back of the, like, we were in the second to last row at the back of the theatre, but on the like far side of us there was like this really weird squeaking coming from like the roof bit, and it got so loud at one point it was almost all I could hear was that, and Ren was getting agitated as well by it, and it was like a really profound moment being really destroyed by this horrible noise. So I've sent an email to them to be like, I don't know if you're aware that your building is squeaking, but honestly it did kind of spoil the second half for us, because we were both so, and there were other people around us that kept looking over there, and there were people like muttering about it. So, you know, it didn't just disrupt us, it disrupted a lot of people. I think at one point even Alice herself paused and was like, what was that? It was still fantastic. It was a great night, and, you know, trying to compact from Cell to Civilization into I think it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something, 2.5 hours. It was incredible. I could have stayed there for like 6 hours, except I couldn't because I started to feel really unwell again because, you know, anxiety. So yeah, it was a fantastic time. It's just obviously there was also quite a lot of emotions running at the same time. It's been a hell of a week mental health wise, and I'm probably going to need next week to recover, and I'm now really stressing about getting all of my booktube stuff out, like for Bookmas. I'm really worried about getting everything ready in time for that now. Just lots of stress. Not a lot of eating, not a lot of sleeping, all the stress. But as I was filming this, my phone did ring, and I have just had the phone call to say that they, as long as Ren can get home in time, they can take her back. Like, we can take her back today. I'm a little bit more red in the face again because that brought on another bout of crying, and the woman was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I'm just sorry for Mochi. Like, she thought she had her home and we thought we had our forever baby, and we don't. So it's going to be a very emotional few days, and I've got a feeling I'm either going to just stay in bed or I'm going to throw myself into work and try and forget the world exists. This vlog has been very mixed. There's been a lot of optimism, a lot of excitement, and then a lot of disappointment and upset as well. But that is life, isn't it? You make plans, you think it's going to go one way, it doesn't, it goes the other way, and before you know it, you know, you're starting from the bottom again. So we're just going to approach next week as a fresh week, start, like, you know, not pretend she was never here, but, you know, take that time to process and grieve and say goodbye, and then get life back to normal next week, hopefully. I apologise that this has had such a downer ending, but I feel like I've always been open and honest, and I like to tell you what's going on. So that is what has been going on. We've had a few really great moments mixed in with some really heavily emotional things. None of us are really coping that fantastically. I don't know how long it's going to be till I next update. But thank you so much for watching. If you've got anything that you want to share, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, just leave a little kitty emoji in honour of our little baby Mochi. And I will see you guys on the next video. I hope you're all good, hope staying safe, and until next time.